What's up, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe here, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you hit that like button. Always does good for the algorithm, the circulation. Appreciate you guys coming by. Been a quiet time around Heatville. I mean, this has been people are freaking out. I gotta be honest with you. This free agency has really sucked, and not for the reasons that you think. It's just not the game that I loved. You know, I love Twitter in a day and age where social media fodder, cryptic tweets, it's just not what it was, baby. And you know, for people who think I'm just talking about just typical Heat movement, no. We've had quiet Heat summers now, 3 years running basically. It's the chase that today's the anniversary of one of the happiest days of my life, which was Shams Charania saying that Damian Lillard only wanted to go to the Miami Heat. It was tremendous. I'll never forget that day. And then Joe Cronin, that warlock, comes out and just ruins it all for me. But you know, I look at it today and it's just like, what happened to the game I loved? I loved cryptic tweets. I loved emojis, googly eyes. I loved, hourglass signs. You remember back in the day when you had the whole emoji off for when the Clippers and Mavs were going after DeAndre Jordan? What happened to that, baby? What happened to, I'll tell you what the game is missing a Tyler Hero trade rumor. Tyler Hero, this man mastered the art of being in trade rumors. He'd actually get some entertainment. He'd mess with the fans a little bit. Nobody's having any fun anymore, and I don't know because this is the most boring free agency known to man, because there's just nothing cool going on. I'm looking at the Heat fan right now, and I'm like, who are the guys you're actually upset about them missing? Like, I genuinely have to have people sitting here, and they're like, I can't believe we are bringing DeLon Wright back. It's like, look, I love the DeLon Wright story in the middle of last year. It was great. He had some, really nice moments. Had a good series for the Miami Heat against the Boston Celtics. Shot the lights out in that one game that they won. But hey guys, come on. He signs a minimum deal with the Bucks. They didn't bring him back. Like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing anymore. Where it feels like everything is the indictment. If you're mad at the Heat, it's already here, but it doesn't get added with not going after Jonas Valanciunas. I feel like you Heat fans who maybe you don't like, they didn't have any cap space to sign anybody anyway. Then I always find the interesting one is like, I can't believe we're losing Caleb Martin for nothing. I can't believe we didn't get any assets for him. It's like, okay, fine, but they also didn't give up any assets for him. Like when you're talking about like asset return or what you learn, like you're just supposed to always just fold your cards and be like, we didn't get anything for him. It's like, yeah. Well, like I get your point at some points, but it's like, yeah, but they also were valuable to the team at the time. And, you want to try and get where you're going to go. You're just supposed to just fold immediately so you can maybe get a second-round pick for somebody. And I could hear that out. Like, for example, the Hawks traded 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. They traded DeJounte Murray for 2 second-round picks and Larry Nance. It's like, well, yeah, you gave up a lot for him. You better get something back. You better recruit something for that. You want to make fun of the Clippers. The Clippers, they gave up a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a heap to get him and Kawhi Leonard. Oh, I can't believe they let him walk for nothing. It's like, all right, well, maybe a little bit there because you gave up something, but you understood the swing that they took. The Heat, when they let their undrafted players walk because they don't want to overpay them, they didn't use a draft pick on them. They were undrafted. They literally got the most value out of them they could. Probably better any value than they would have for anything. So I don't know. I find that Heat criticism weird. And mind you guys, I'm not here defending the Heat. I want the Heat to make moves, but I want them to make a legitimate move. I don't want them just to make moves for moves' sake. Because if you told me, like, up and down the roster, like, I look at these guys, people are saying, oh, man, the Heat, they're standing pat. They're not doing anything. When the Heat come out here and they like their team or don't want to just make a move for move's sake, it's because, does this move get you closer to catching Boston? Does it? And when the Heat are going to look at their roster and say, well, if we have health, if we have, Jimmy Butler for the playoffs, if we have Tyler Hero playing half the year, the difference between the 2 seed and where the Heat were as a play-in team was 4 games. What, 4 games, 5 games? Like, it's nothing. And the real conversation you have to be like, hey, if this trade happens, if we go and make this deal, can we actually compete with the Celtics? That's the real talk that you have to have with yourself with any of this stuff that happens. So, I don't know. I'm just finding everybody just getting mad because they want some kind of action, and all you've gotten so far is a Jay Rich opt-in and a Kevin Love getting an extra year for $4 million. So I get the antsiness of it, but I don't necessarily look at any of the deals that are made. Even the Paul George Sixers deal. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Show me that giant windsock can stay healthy for the entire season, and then I'll look at them as a threat. Up until then, we will take no further negotiations at this time on this on this simple debate topic. It's just not it's just not there for me. But DeLon Wright, Caleb Martin going to be gone. Haywood Highsmith, who knows? Seems like he wants to stay in Miami, but there's a lot of money, so maybe he gets swept away. I think the team that's probably had the best free agency out of anybody is probably OKC, and I'm including the Caruso trade in that. But them adding energy, effort, defensive guys on top of what they've already had for offensive talent, that feels like very, very. Those feel like really, really good moves to round out their roster. And those are going to be the things that you look for with this situation with the Miami Heat and what they're doing. I think they are kind of waiting to see where does this lie with the whole Donovan Mitchell thing, where plan A goes. Like, once we get to the point where the Miami Heat go through this summer, if we get to the point where the Miami Heat get through this summer and Donovan Mitchell re-signed with the Cavaliers and Trae Young's not going anywhere with the Hawks and Damian Lillard's not forcing his way out and the Miami Heat are just still here with a Terry Rozier with a mystery neck injury, Tyler Hero hoping that he could actually get through a full season, Jimmy Butler contract season, Bam Adebayo extended. Yeah, I think you could sit here and you can criticize and be mad at the Miami Heat. But as I sit here on July 1st, I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait before I completely obliterate the front office on making no moves and doing nothing, because I do actually think, I don't know who the move is yet. I don't know if it's a Lauri Markkanen. I told you I haven't, even though there's been more fodder around that, I've told you, front office, what he typically likes, the relationship between them and the Hawks, with them and the Heat, and how many picks he wants. That's probably not a likely move. But until we get through all of this, I look at the Heat. They have sizable contracts to trade that are not albatross awful contracts. They have young guys that I think teams would want and would find pretty valuable. I do think they're in the game for some of these guys. People are saying like, well, no, they don't have the. Yeah, I guess if you're getting into a pick-off, no, they don't. If that's just what teams want. But if you want to talk about best young talents you can move, and even the contracts that you would take back being guys that could help you in the present, I actually do think the Heat have a bit of an arsenal to move some of these things. It's just a matter of the availability of guys. And so when you're told about, hey, you're at the mercy, yes, that's true. You're at the mercy of these teams, and you're at the mercy of those players making a stink. Yeah, you typically are. And would you be spooked off of that because of how the Lillard stuff went last year, where he really became the first guy who didn't really get to go where he wanted to go? Strangely, only when it's seemingly a guy who wants to go to Miami that becomes a thing, isn't it? Very interesting. So, free agency has been boring. It has been very uneventful. The Klay Thompson sweepstakes. Yeah, people are, oh, Klay Thompson, you get him to the Heat. What? It's like, nah, I mean, like, all respect. You had Duncan Robinson last year. What? I don't understand just making that move for that sake. I think I want two things. I want the Heat to add, if possible, legitimate veteran center if possible, and then or another power forward, or a just tilted absolute elite scoring point guard, not decent scoring point guard, an elite scoring point guard. Those are the things that I would want to trade. Slash shooting guard, just an elite scoring guard. Elite. They have good to very good right now. I would like it to be elite. Those are my wishes. Those are Tob's wishes. All right? You can't get mad at wishes. All right? The only person who can get mad at a wish is a genie. And then they'd be like, but then I'm like, you're a genie. You're supposed to make wishes. I'd be like, fair enough. I make the deal. But, yeah, I just think that, like, this lack of, like, the social media landscape has been boring. I don't know if it's just, you know what it is? It's just, I don't know if it's too many people on repeat for engagement on Twitter these days. I say this as like a Heat Twitter OG, a guy who remembers the greats, who would just see the entertainment from what Heat Twitter is to what it is now, which is like, are these a bunch of 12-year-olds who are just tweeting the same thing and just, taking quotes and copying it and just having the same takes to see who can. I don't know. But I used to love, like, who's this player's third cousin who's kind of cryptically tweeting that I could take this. I'll tell you another thing that I don't like that Elon Musk did. He took the likes away. And I loved in free agency and fodder season, I loved snooping the likes. It was a great place. You go, well, look what he liked here. Now you kind of have to do it on Instagram. It's like, all right, hopefully this person pops up here and I can see one little like here and see where we're at with this certain situation. But as of right now, yes, it's been boring. Of course it's been boring, Heat Nation. I know. You guys don't have to tell me. You don't have to send me every single guy who's available. I know who's available. Trust me when I tell you, I know who's available. I know who would actually wet my whistle when it comes to, like, oh, that move would do it for me. None of them have happened yet. None of them. Not a trade. Not even the Bridges trade. I was like, all right. Bridges trade is a nice trade. Makes sense for the Knicks. Would I have traded for first round picks for him? Even if the Heat had that arsenal? I don't know. But I'm not, I tell you one thing, like, I'm watching this hockey free agency that's going on right now because a lot of Panthers are getting paid right now. They're leaving. And this Panthers free agency has been terrible other than Sakib and Sam Reinhart. But everybody else is leaving that we love. Things are going boom, 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 hot and heavy. This is like, do you think Paul George is going to be the final piece for the Sixers? It's like, oh, yeah, now Paul George, career loser. Joel Embiid, career loser. You guys better hope Tyrese Maxey can lift the ceiling. That dude's got a lot of yeoman's work ahead of him, which maybe he will be. He's awesome, but eventually what's going to happen. Joel Embiid's going to have a new ailment we've never heard of that takes him out of the picture. They're going to lose in the first or second round like they always do. People, I see this one too. This is another funny one. I see the Bucks, they get Giannis and Dame back. I'm like, you don't get to do that. Wait a minute. They get to say, oh, we got our healthy guys back, but the Heat don't get to say, oh, like, that's not a good argument. The Heat fan that just wants to make the offseason worse than it is, right? And I see, like, Pacers re-signed Pascal Siakam. It's like, well, they already made that trade. Okay, cool. Good move. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. But, like, you don't get to use that as an offseason move now because now they get to run it back. And then the Heat fan, then they're like, Giannis and Dame coming back, ? I'm like, what? No, like, the moves you can, Sixers, Knicks, Celtics, and then, by the way, still all of them have to catch up to the Celtics. Everybody is chasing that team. Much as it pains me to say, you could say Paul George to the Sixers. I don't think they're this is just my opinion. Heat is the roster as is, and teams that I'm actually worried about the Heat having to go catch, there's only one. I look at the standings from last year. I look at the Heat's health from this year. Standings-wise, the only team that I'm worried about catching, and especially with a Jimmy Butler who's trying to make money, is the team in Boston. That's it. Just like it's always been, guys. Just like it's always been. Everybody else, I'm like, all right. You don't have to like make it seem like they've made this vast improvement. Giannis and Dame together with Doc Rivers as their coach. If anybody's got more, them getting older is a bigger question mark of running it back than the Heat is. Sixers getting Paul George. Congratulations. Fancier Tobias Harris for Tobias. How does Tobias Harris keep doing this, by the way? $26 million a year for Tobias Harris. Crazy. Anyway, my bigger point of this video is free agency sucks. But I do want to get into the Donovan Mitchell thing. Going to do that because Colby Altman had some comments about that. So I do want to dive into that a little bit, but I will do that in another video because I just wanted to rail in how much free agency has sucked and how much Heat Twitter has sucked with this first 48 hours of real free agency.